So, um, every single time you ask a generative AI model to, summarize a document or maybe draft an email or even write a line of code, somewhere in the world, there's this physical data center just consuming a massive gulp of water for cooling.
Right, and just a huge surge of electricity, too.
Exactly. A surge of electricity to power these processors. And it feels like magic on your screen, right?
Yeah.
But it is entirely bound by physical reality. And today, we're really looking at the staggering financial cost of that exact exchange.
Yeah, it was sort of the great illusion of modern technology. We interact with this weightless software, completely insulated from the heavy industrial machinery required to actually keep it running.
Yeah.
But when you look at the balance sheet, I mean, that illusion vanishes instantly.
Which is exactly our mission for today's deep dive.
Yeah.
We're opening up the fiscal year 2025 Form 10K of the company that, honestly, arguably powers more of those everyday digital moments for you than any other, and that's Microsoft. A massive one. We're going to decode how a 50-year-old tech giant is literally funding the AI revolution, how they've radically evolved their business model to do it, and, well, what happens when infinite digital scale collides with the physical limits of planet Earth. I'm Jack, and joining me to help translate this massive stack of financial filings into plain English is Misha.
Hi. Yeah, looking at this 2025 data, it's going to challenge a lot of assumptions about what a software company actually is in the modern era. The mechanics of how this business operates today are fundamentally different than they were even just like 5 years ago.
Totally. And let's start right there, actually, because to understand the mind-blowing financials at the end of this report, we first have to understand what exactly this company is selling right now.
Right.
If you listening right now are still picturing them as the company that just sells like windows in a cardboard box at a big box electronics store, you've missed a massive evolution.
Oh, completely.
They operate in three gigantic segments now. The first one is productivity and business processes.
Yeah, so think of this as the software the global economy actually uses to function on a daily basis, right? You have Microsoft 365, which is Word, Excel, Teams, and now the new Copilot AI features are just woven directly into all of them.
Right, it's just baked in.
Exactly. But it's really vital to note that this segment also houses LinkedIn,
Oh, yeah.
which has become this quiet behemoth in B2B marketing and talent solutions. And that sits alongside Dynamics 365, which is their enterprise resource planning software.
Okay, so that's basically the day-to-day workflow stuff.
Yeah.
But the real heavyweight, like the engine actually driving the modern era of this company, is the second segment, right? The intelligent cloud.
Yes, the big one.
This is Azure, their global network of data centers. It also holds their server products, GitHub for software developers, and Nuance Healthcare. And I really want to pause on this because it's crucial for you to understand the difference between how they sell productivity software versus how they sell the cloud.
Yeah, people confuse those a lot.
We toss around acronyms like SaaS and PyHaaS all the time.
They do often get blurred together, but the distinction between them is really the key to their entire revenue model today.
Right, so software as a service, or SaaS, is basically like leasing a fully finished car, right? You pay a monthly fee, and you get to drive Microsoft Word or Excel.
Exactly. You just use the product.
But platform as a service, which is Azure, is completely different. I mean, they aren't renting you a finished car. They're renting you a world-class engine, a chassis, and like a factory floor.
Yeah, they give you the tools.
Right, and they're letting your developers build whatever custom vehicle your company actually needs. You're renting raw computing power and AI infrastructure.
Right. And then sort of bridging those enterprise tools back to the everyday user, you have the third segment, which is more personal computing.
The legacy stuff.
Yeah, it's the modernized legacy business. So you've got Windows licensing to PC manufacturers, their own Surface hardware, search and news advertising through Bing, and then the entire gaming division.
Which is huge now.
Massive. It encompasses Xbox hardware, content, services, and of course, the Game Pass subscription.
So the fundamental shift here, almost all three of these segments, is this move away from the perpetual license. You don't just buy a disk and own the software forever anymore.
No, those days are long gone.
You pay a subscription, or increasingly, especially with AI, you pay based on consumption. You literally pay a micro fraction of a cent for every computing cycle you use.
Exactly.
It's like they transition from selling you a car to building a massive, inescapable toll road system. But it's not just a toll road. It's a toll road where they also built a car, they own the gas stations, and like if you try to take the exit ramp to a competitor's highway, none of your digital luggage actually fits in the new trunk.
That's a great way to put it. The ecosystem is designed to make staying vastly easier than leaving. I mean, the switching costs for a massive enterprise are just monumental. Once your data, your security protocols, and your developer tools are fully integrated into Azure and Microsoft 365, migrating away takes years, and it costs millions of dollars.
But I do have to challenge this setup a little bit. I mean, look at
Yes.
this portfolio. You have Xbox gaming consoles, highly specialized healthcare AI, LinkedIn social networking, Windows operating systems.
It's a lot.
Is there a real risk here that they're becoming just hopelessly fragmented? It feels like they're trying to build every single toll road on the planet simultaneously.
Yeah.
And usually that leads to a huge loss of focus.
Well, on paper, yeah, a portfolio that broad looks like a conglomerate that's completely lost its identity. But if you dig into the 10K, it reveals the connective tissue binding it all together, which is artificial intelligence.
Okay, how so?
The executives aren't treating AI as a side project or just, a standalone product you buy. It is now the foundational layer embedded across the entire stack.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, so you have a Copilot helping you draft a LinkedIn post. You have Azure supercomputers training massive language models, and AI integrated right into GitHub to automatically write code. The focus isn't fragmented at all, really. The focus is the ecosystem itself.
So it all feeds back into the same core.
Exactly. Those subscription and consumption models provide the incredibly predictable recurring cash flow that's required to fund the astronomical cost of that AI infrastructure.
Okay, so if they are building this inescapable AI-infused ecosystem, we really need to know exactly who is paying these tolls.
Right?
If you look at their customer base, it's almost terrifyingly broad. I mean, they are capturing individual gamers paying, what, $15 a month right up to the Department of Defense?
The spectrum is incredibly vast, yeah.
Which requires a highly engineered distribution strategy. I mean, you can't sell a multi-million-dollar cloud migration to a global bank the exact same way you sell a video game. Exactly. So they break it down into 3 distinct channels. And the first is direct sales. That's their own enterprise sales teams negotiating massive multi-year agreements with global corporations and governments.
But direct sales teams are incredibly expensive.
Oh, sure.
And they don't scale down very well. Like, if you're a 20-person plumbing company in rural Ohio, a Microsoft enterprise sales executive is not going to fly out to pitch you on a cloud migration.
Right. It's just not worth their time.
Exactly. So that friction is solved by their second distribution channel, which is distributors and resellers.
Yeah.
And that's heavily driven by their cloud solution provider network.
I honestly find this network fascinating because they essentially outsource the entire logistical nightmare of small to medium business sales.
Yep.
They empower local third-party IT companies to bundle Microsoft's cloud services with their own local tech support and then sell it as a package to that plumbing company in Ohio.
It's brilliant, really.
It allows them to saturate the global market down to the smallest business without paying an army of direct salespeople.
It creates this massive decentralized sales force that is, financially incentivized to push Microsoft products. And then you have the third major channel, which is original equipment manufacturers, or OEMs.
I like the hardware guys.
Yeah, the Dells, the HPs, the Lenovos of the world, the companies who physically manufacture computers and pay to pre-install the Windows operating system before the device ever even reaches the consumer.
Okay, stop right there, because this is where the strategy feels totally disconnected from reality to me. Relying on OEMs to pre-install Windows, that feels like a relic of the 1990s desktop era.
I know it sounds that way.
I mean, we are living in a world completely dominated by the cloud. People do their work in a web browser or on an iPad or on a smartphone. Why on earth does this old-school hardware-bound channel still matter to a company that's basically betting its entire future on cloud computing? It feels like they're just clinging to a dying paradigm.
It is entirely counterintuitive until you look at the physical bottleneck of artificial intelligence. The OEM channel is actually undergoing a massive strategic revival right now to launch the AI PC category.
Okay, AI PC.
Yeah, specifically what they call Copilot Plus PCs.
So how does an AI PC actually differ from, the laptop you or I might be using right now?
Well, a standard laptop relies almost entirely on its central processing unit, right? The CPU.
Right.
But an AI PC has specialized hardware built directly into the silicon called a neural processing unit, or NPU.
Oh, interesting.
These are designed specifically to run complex AI algorithms locally, right there on your laptop, rather than constantly pinging a data center thousands of miles away.
Okay, so it processes the AI stuff on the device itself.
Exactly. It reduces latency, it enhances privacy, and crucially, it offloads the massive computing costs from Microsoft servers directly onto your local device.
Oh, wow. So they save money.
Huge amounts of money.
Yeah.
But to get those NPUs into the hands of billions of users, Microsoft desperately needs those OEM partners like Lenovo and HP to manufacture and actually push the hardware.
That makes total sense.
Yeah, maintaining Windows market share through OEMs is really the physical delivery mechanism for the next generation of localized AI.
Because without the hardware, the software just has nowhere to live. Okay, so knowing what they sell and how they physically get it into the hands of customers, let's look at the scoreboard here.
Let's do it.
Let's dig into the 2025 profitability because, honestly, the numbers in this 10K kind of break the human brain's ability to comprehend scale.
They really do.
For fiscal year 2025, top-line revenue hit $281.7 billion.
Yeah.
That is a 15% increase from 2024.
And translating that scale is really important. Growing 15% on a base of $250 billion is just incredibly difficult.
Yeah, to put that in perspective for you, $281.7 billion in annual revenue means they're generating roughly $770 million every single day.
It's wild.
Weekends and holidays included. And that revenue flows beautifully down the income statement. Operating income hit $128.5 billion, which was up 17%. Net income reached $101.8 billion.
And the margins are where the true power of this business model is revealed. Their total gross margin for 2025 was $193.9 billion.
And if we look at the net margin, so it's taking that $101.8 billion in net income and dividing it by the $281.7 billion in revenue, you get roughly 36%.
Right.
Think about the mechanics of that. For every single dollar that comes in the door across every product line globally, 36 cents drops straight to the bottom line as pure, unadulterated profit.
That 36% net margin is basically the ultimate testament to the economics of software. I mean, when Ford builds a truck, they have to buy steel, glass, and rubber for every single vehicle.
Right. Physical goods cost money.
Exactly. When a software company writes a line of code for a new feature in Excel, the cost of copying and distributing that feature to the 100 millionth customer is effectively zero. The margins expand massively with scale.
Except the 10K reveals a massive contradiction to that exact principle.
Yes, it does.
When you break down the segment margins, the Microsoft Cloud gross margin percentage actually decreased slightly in 2025, dropping to 69%. So why are the cloud gross margins shrinking at the exact same time that cloud revenue is exploding? If cloud and AI are the future, shouldn't those margins be getting better, not worse?
This is perhaps the most vital insight in the entire financial report. The margin is shrinking because the fundamental nature of what they are selling is changing.
How so?
Well, traditional software has virtually zero marginal cost, right? Like we just
Yeah.
said, but artificial intelligence does not. AI is aggressively bound by physical reality.
Oh, right.
That slight decrease in the cloud gross margin down to 69% is the direct mathematical result of the unprecedented staggering costs of scaling physical AI infrastructure.
And this perfectly bridges us into what actually changed inside the company between 2024 and 2025, because it reveals the true heavy cost of building the future. Let's look at the revenue drivers driving that top line first. Azure revenue grew by a massive 34%, heavily fueled by businesses just desperate for AI computing power.
Yep.
Microsoft 365 Commercial Cloud grew 15%. Xbox content and services surged 16%, driven heavily by the Activision Blizzard acquisition and Game Pass.
The top line growth is phenomenal across the board, but, the cost drivers tell the real story of the AI era here. The cost of revenue jumped 19%.
Wow. That is a $13.7 billion increase in costs in a single year. Plus, their operating expenses rose 6%, driven by massive investments in cloud engineering and, of course, the integration of Activision Blizzard. But I really want you to visualize that $13.7 billion jump in the cost of revenue. What does $13.7 billion of added physical cost actually look like?
Well, it looks like heavy industrial construction.
Right.
When they sell an Azure AI service, they are no longer just selling code. They are selling raw computing power. And to provide that, they're buying thousands of acres of land. They are pouring millions of tons of concrete for data centers.
Actual concrete.
Yes. They are securing massive long-term energy contracts to keep the servers running and the cooling systems pumping. And they are acquiring tens of thousands of highly specialized graphics processing units, or GPUs, which are incredibly expensive.
So that's the margin squeeze.
Exactly. The 69% margin reflects the reality that running a generative AI query is fundamentally more expensive in terms of raw electricity, water, and hardware wear and tear than simply storing a spreadsheet in the cloud.
The analogy I keep coming back to is a digital brain. They're trying to build this incredibly advanced, supposedly weightless digital brain.
Correct.
But to keep it alive and functioning, it requires a massive, heavy, intensely resource-hungry physical body.
That's spot on.
Is this pristine software company essentially being forced to transform into a heavy industry construction and power generation company just to support its own software ambitions?
Effectively, yes. I mean, the risk factors listed in this 10K are deeply telling. They explicitly list the availability of permitted land, predictable energy grids, and network supplies as primary threats to their business.
Wow, not what you'd expect from a software giant.
Not at all. They are entangled in the physical supply chain in ways a pure software company never had to worry about. They even note their reliance on a very small number of qualified suppliers for server components.
Oh, they're vulnerable.
Very. A single factory disruption in Asia could completely bottleneck their ability to meet global AI demand.
Which is terrifying for them, I'm sure.
Mm.
Well, if they are spending billions on concrete energy contracts and GPUs, we have to follow the cash flows. We need to see how money is actually moving through the business to fund this physical expansion, because building a global network of data centers requires just an ocean of liquidity.
It does. And the cash flow statement here is an absolute masterclass in how a mature, dominant business funds its own aggressive evolution.
Let's break it down.
Let's start with cash from operations. In 2025, their day-to-day operations generated $136.2 billion in cash. That is an increase of $17.6 billion from 2024.
Just to map that back to reality for you, that $136.2 billion isn't some weird accounting metric, That is actual cash received from customers paying their bills, minus the cash paid out to employees and suppliers.
Real money in the bank.
Right. I look at $136.2 billion in pure operational cash, and I don't see a software company. I see a financial gravity well. It continuously, inevitably, just sucks in capital from every sector of the global economy.
And it provides them with total financial sovereignty. They aren't at the mercy of the banking system to fund their growth.
Right.
Speaking of banks, cash used in financing was $51.7 billion, and the report notes that was largely used to repay debt, keeping their balance sheet incredibly clean.
But the critical number is the investing cash flow, because that's where the data centers live.
Exactly. Cash used in investing was $72.6 billion. Now, on the surface, that looks lower than 2024.
Oh, right, because of the acquisition.
Yeah, because 2024 included the massive $75.4 billion cash purchase of Activision Blizzard. If you strip out that one-time acquisition, there is a massive hidden detail in the 2025 investing cash flows, and that is a $20.1 billion increase in additions to property and equipment.
Let me make sure that mechanism is totally clear for everyone. They didn't just spend $20.1 billion on property and equipment. They spent whatever astronomical amount they spent on data centers last year, plus an additional $20.1 billion on top of it.
Yes. That $20.1 billion increase represents the hyper-acceleration of their data center build-out. That is the premium they're paying for the concrete, the land, and the GPUs required to basically win the AI platform war.
And this is where I really have to push back on this entire strategy. I fully understand they have the $136 billion in operating cash to afford it, right?
Sure.
But tying up tens of billions of extra dollars every single year in physical buildings and hardware exposes a massive vulnerability. We all know how fast silicon technology moves. What happens if the billions of dollars of AI GPUs they are bolting into these data centers today are completely obsolete in like 18 months? Aren't they taking on an unprecedented level of physical depreciation risk?
They absolutely are, and it is the exact tightrope the executive team is currently walking. Hardware obsolescence is a severe threat.
Right, because chips get faster every year.
Yeah, if a chip manufacturer releases a processor next year that is twice as fast and uses half the electricity, the billions in hardware they just installed immediately loses its competitive edge.
Which would crush their margins even further.
Precisely. However, the counter-argument they are betting the entire company on is that the demand for AI computation is so insatiable right now that if they do not buy the hardware today, a competitor will.
Oh, it's an arms race.
Exactly. And if a competitor captures the developers and the enterprises, they lose the platform war entirely. They are intentionally using their massive 36% net margin from their software ecosystem to subsidize the brute force physical build-out of the AI era. They are literally buying market share with concrete and silicon.
So what does this all mean when we step back and look at the big picture? Looking closely at this 2025 Form 10K, we are basically watching a fascinating, almost paradoxical hybrid of a company.
It really is unique.
On one side, you have an economic machine generating infinite digital scale through subscriptions and software that has virtually zero marginal cost to duplicate. It throws off $136 billion in cash.
Right.
But on the other side, to fuel their artificial intelligence ambitions, they are increasingly shackled to the massive, expensive, and heavy physical reality of building data centers, securing power grids, and stockpiling silicon chips.
It is the ultimate convergence of the digital and physical worlds. The survival and future growth of the business is now entirely dependent on their ability to manage both of those things simultaneously.
No small feat.
No, they must keep the high-margin software ecosystem, the toll roads operating flawlessly, while executing one of the largest, most expensive physical infrastructure expansions in corporate history.
Which leaves us with a final, slightly chilling thought for you to mull over.
Hmm.
We've talked extensively about how this company is funding the AI revolution and how their underlying business model has evolved to capture value from it. But as artificial intelligence continues to scale at this explosive rate, it is demanding unimaginable physical resources. We are talking about vast tracts of buildable land, gigawatts of electricity, millions of gallons of fresh water for cooling towers, and rare earth metals for silicon chips.
The physical cost is staggering.
So as this boundless digital software company attempts to push the very limits of what AI can achieve, will the ultimate limit on their growth not be the ingenuity of their software, or the quality of their code, or even the demand of their customers, but the actual physical constraints of planet Earth?
That friction between digital ambition and physical reality is going to be the defining tension of the next decade of technology, without a doubt.
It really is. So the next time you use one of those tools, whether you're typing an email in Word, playing a game on Xbox, or asking an AI to summarize a long document, just take a moment to remember the massive physical industrial machine sitting quietly behind your screen, burning energy and moving water to make it all happen.